The world's attention is locked on New York City today, and not just because of the traffic gridlock. President Donald Trump is set to deliver a high-profile address to the United Nations General Assembly at 9:50 a.m., speaking directly to dozens of global leaders gathered for this year's session. Allies, adversaries, and everyone in between are in town, from the president of Iran to European heads of state. But here's where it gets interesting. Trump says he'll talk about both the good and the bad unfolding across the globe, with the wars in Ukraine and Gaza front and center. On Sunday, Trump previewed his remarks, calling the Israel-Hamas conflict in Gaza a disaster, and reiterating his push to end Russia's invasion of Ukraine. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says he'll also spotlight his administration's achievements, including ceasefire deals he claims have ended multiple wars. Yet, in the background, a diplomatic storm brews. Several U.S. allies, including the UK, Canada, and France, are moving to formally recognize a Palestinian state, a step Washington and Israel strongly oppose. Whether Trump will address that head-on remains to be seen. While in New York, Trump's schedule includes meetings with leaders from Ukraine, Argentina, and the European Union. And in a twist that could spark debate, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio dismissed the Palestinian recognition push as irrelevant, while the Gaza war rages, calling it a vanity project for certain leaders. Rubio insists it's making negotiations with Hamas harder, and claims Trump is the only figure capable of brokering peace. He's meeting today with representatives from Muslim-majority nations, including Gulf states, in what he describes as a last-ditch effort to end the conflict, free hostages, and deliver humanitarian aid without empowering Hamas. Trump's speech also comes against the backdrop of his administration's break with several UN agencies. The U.S. is withdrawn from the Human Rights Council and the World Health Organization, slashed funding, and criticized the UN's stance on Israel and its global reach. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is in town rallying support as the war with Russia drags on. Trump has expressed frustration, saying he thought resolving it would be the easiest, due to his relationship with Vladimir Putin, a relationship he now admits has let him down. Polish President Karol Nawrocki may address Russian drones entering Polish airspace, something Trump suggested could have been accidental, a claim Warsaw rejects. The White House is also weighing Russia's offer to extend nuclear warhead limits under the New START treaty for 1 year after its 2026 expiration, if the U.S. reciprocates. Security concerns are high. The U.S. Secret Service has dismantled a massive telecom network in the New York area that could have disrupted emergency communications during the General Assembly. Investigators found over 100,000 SIM cards capable of sending 30 million texts per minute, allegedly used by foreign governments, organized crime, and trafficking rings. Leavitt says Trump will use his speech to argue that globalist institutions have eroded the world order. While promoting a vision of renewed American strength, he's aiming to broker peace between Putin and Zelensky, despite substantial hatred between them, and to address Gaza's humanitarian crisis. In a move sure to raise eyebrows, the State Department has restricted Iranian delegates' movements in New York, limiting them to routes necessary for UN business and banning access to luxury goods. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian is expected to attend. The U.S. has also denied visas to members of the Palestinian Authority, citing national security. The Israel-Hamas war is expected to dominate discussions this week. The UN recently passed a non-binding resolution calling for a phased end to the conflict and the creation of a Palestinian state. The UK, Australia, Canada, and France have already recognized such a state, with French President Emmanuel Macron arguing it could weaken Hamas. Rubio calls that reckless, while Macron says his critics are overreacting. This week also marks the debut of Trump's new UN ambassador, Mike Waltz, confirmed just last week after the post sat vacant for Trump's entire second term so far. Waltz, formerly Trump's national security advisor, replaces Elise Stefanik, whose nomination was withdrawn so she could remain in Congress. The UN General Assembly, which includes all member states, meets annually in September to debate global issues from climate change to human rights. This year's theme, Better Together, 80 Years and More for Peace, Development and Human Rights, coincides with the organization's 80th anniversary. So, will Trump's speech be a unifying call for peace or a lightning rod for controversy? Will his approach to Gaza and Ukraine win support or deepen divides? And what do you think about the growing number of countries recognizing a Palestinian state? Bold diplomacy or dangerous timing? Let's hear it in the comments.